3 spine-chilling true Valentine's Day tales of sinister love and cursed secrets revealed, in a quiet suburban neighborhood, where petunias bloom in perfect rows and laughter dances like sunlight on manicured lawns, something wicked hid beneath the surface. The kind of wicked that makes your skin crawl and leaves you questioning everything you thought was safe. As Valentine's Day approached, Sarah, a weary single mother, found herself caught in a web of allure and horror, all spun by the arrival of Tom, a man whose charm felt like a warm embrace in the chill of her loneliness. But shadows lingered, and not all was as it seemed. Every parent knows how easily the whispers of a child's fears can slip through the cracks of logic. "Mommy, Mr. Jenkins is watching me," little Lily would say, her wide eyes gleaming with an innocent dread. Sarah dismissed it at first, brushing it off as just another facet of her daughter's vibrant imagination. After all, Mr. Jenkins was a beloved member of their community, a kind widower, known for his idyllic garden and sweet treats for the kids. Yet, each time Lily's thoughts turned to their neighbor, a cold sweat trickled down Sarah's spine, as though someone were indeed watching. The tension escalated when pets began to vanish, one by one, without a trace. Fluffy the cat. Max the dog. Gone, as if the earth had swallowed them whole. Then there were the odd sounds at night, muffled whispers behind the walls that sent shivers racing through Sarah's body. She combed through the neighborhood once, twice, every alley, every yard, repeating the mantra that this was just suburbia, but her heart hammered against her ribcage in protest. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Each Valentine's Day card left on her doorstep felt like a taunt, personalized with chilling messages that spoke of love twisted into something grotesque. Sarah felt the fragile facade of their tight-knit neighborhood crack beneath her feet, a chilling dread crawling up her spine like an unseen predator stalking its prey. And then she found at the broken edge of Mr. Jenkins' fence, a stash of ominous cards hidden within. Her dreamy sense of belonging shattered when she uncovered sordid secrets about Tom, whose past relationships were darkened by rumors and abrupt endings. Was the man she dreamed of a wolf in sheep's clothing? And just like that, her life spiraled into chaos. When Lily went missing, the world melted into darkness. The ticking clock echoed in her ears, each second a heartbeat of dread. Desperation clawed at Sarah as she faced Tom, his once comforting presence now feeling like a hurricane ready to rip her apart. Vague memories of laughter faded each moment, now tainted by an air of suspicion. She could feel it, something sinister bounded around the corners of her sanity. Love twisted into a nightmare, coiling tighter, until there was no air left to breathe. Who could she trust? The chilling question loomed heavier than night itself, whispering secrets that hovered just outside her grasp. Time was expiring, and the very walls that had sheltered her family were now echoing with something far more sinister than she could ever have imagined. The night swallowed the neighborhood whole as Sarah ran, each thump of her heart a hammer against her ribcage. A desperate instinct surged through her, propelling her past Tom's home. His handsome face and comforting words echoed like a siren's call in her mind. But the notion that he could have anything to do with Lily's disappearance gnawed at her. Panic rushed through her veins as she reached the shadow of Mr. Jenkins' house, the unsettling words from Lily echoing in her memory, "Mr. Jenkins is watching me." She shivered, not from the cold, but from the weight of fear creeping beneath her skin. What if Lily was right? What if behind those quaint garden roses was a darkness so profound it could snuff out a child's laughter? She moved closer to the house, peering through the window, terror gripping her throat. Inside, Mr. Jenkins sat in a dimly lit room, cradling a stack of Valentine's cards. The flickering candlelight painted shadows on his face, casting a twisted smile. Every flick of the flame danced like taunting laughter. Sarah's breath caught, the cards she had seen were not mere keepsakes, they were confessions of love turned into obsessions, desperation etched into every line. "Come on, Lily, where are you?" she whispered, her voice trembling with desperation. Overwhelmed with emotion, she leaned closer, her cheek brushing against the cool glass. From the corner of her eye, something shifted in the room. She froze. There, framed by the shadows, were toys, her daughter's toys, worn and familiar. Frozen with horror, she realized that the whispers from the walls were not her imagination, but something portentous hidden behind those very walls. Suddenly, a creak shattered the night, the sound of a door opening, then footsteps approaching. She jerked back, heart racing uncontrollably. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But where? There was no haven, only a world twisted by dread. "Sarah?" Tom's voice cut through the darkness, smooth and disarming. She turned instinctively toward him, hiding her fear behind a mask of confusion. "What are you doing here?" she managed to croak, her mind rushing through 1,000 scenarios, each more horrifying than the last. He smiled, but it felt like more of a snare. "I was just looking for you. Heard some strange noises and thought something might be happened. Something dangerous." His gaze sharpened, the charm stronger than ever and yet so frighteningly cold. "Lily's gone," Sarah blurted, her voice shaking, pleading. "I can't find her." His smile faded, morphing into a predatory grin. "Maybe I can help with that. Some people say I have a knack for finding lost things." A chill swept through her, she took a step back, eyes darting for an escape. The clouds thickened, swallowing what little moonlight dared to shine down. But suddenly, a scream echoed from beyond. A child's scream. Lily's scream. Time froze. Dread coiled around Sarah's throat. "What did you do?" she gasped, panic rising. She didn't wait for a response. She spun on her heel, racing back toward Mr. Jenkins' house. Was it too late? Had she walked right into a new nightmare disguised as love? Every second bled into another, undeniably thick with fear, as she pushed through the fear toward an opening door marked with her daughter's cries. But what sinister surprise waited within those cursed walls? The thought sliced through her, "I'm not safe." As she barreled inside, shadows welcomed her with open arms. The darkness inside stretched like a beast waiting to pounce, and all she could do was hope she wouldn't become the next victim of the twisted love that had ensnared them both. What horrors lurked in the depths? Sarah could only take a breath of courage, plunging deeper into the unknown. The air inside Mr. Jenkins' house was thick and stale, clinging to her like a heavy fog. Each step forward felt like treading through molasses. Shadows consumed everything, making it nearly impossible to distinguish between furniture and lurking horrors. The only sound was the echo of her own heartbeat, thumping wildly in her ears. "Lily?" she called out, her voice barely more than a whisper. It felt hollow, swallowed by the oppressive silence. Days of searching, weeks of sleepless nights, all boiled down to this moment. If Lily was trapped in this nightmare, she had to find her. The blood that coursed through Sarah's veins surged with the relentless determination of a mother unwilling to let despair win. Suddenly, a shiver ran down her spine as she spotted a flicker of movement in the corner of the room. It was the smallest hint of a shadow, maybe a child's silhouette. Panic ignited in her chest, and she lurched toward it, desperate to hold her daughter. "Stay where you are," a voice rasped from the dark corners, "Mr. Jenkins." It was laced with a twisted amusement that made Sarah's stomach churn. Instinct screamed at her to flee, but she pressed on, calling out again, "Lily." The room illuminated itself briefly as lightning cracked outside, revealing the horrible reality of the space. Pictures lined the walls, photographs of smiling children, each with a hint of something sinister brewing beneath the surface. Clowns posed and pranced, while their smiles seemed stretched far beyond comfort, gleefully framing memories that felt wrong. "Oh, poor dear," cooed Mr. Jenkins, stepping into the sudden glow with a grin that twisted his features grotesquely. "I've been waiting for you both. You shouldn't have come here. The world outside? So dangerous and cruel." Her heart raced even faster. "What have you done with her?" Sarah's voice trembled, barely able to contain her terror. He chuckled softly, shaking his head as though amused by her question. "She's safe for now. But the truth is, Sarah, love can be a prison. And I know love." He gestured around, indicating a collection of odd trinkets and fading toys. "These treasures remind me of the connections we forge, even if their owners don't understand." Suddenly, the scream pierced the air once more, this time accompanied by frantic sobbing. Sarah's gut twisted. It was unmistakably Lily. "Let her go!" Sarah screamed, her raw voice slicing through the darkness. She lunged toward the source of the cries, compelled by a force stronger than fear. But a chill held her back as Mr. Jenkins blocked her path, eyes gleaming with a manic gleam. "Why would I do that? This is where love thrives. It's a little game I play, dear, and you're just in time for the finale." As he stepped aside, she charged forward into a smaller room, its walls adorned with even more photographs, each child looking eerily familiar. A table sat in the center, and there, bound and gagged, was Lily, her wide eyes filled with fear but still searching for her mother. "Mommy!" she pleaded, muffled and terror-stricken. In that moment, every instinct within Sarah screamed to save her daughter, but hesitation gripped her heart. This man had a hold on their lives that ran deeper than she could comprehend. "Come, let us celebrate love together," he declared, his voice ricocheting off the walls as he wrapped his arm around Sarah, pulling her in. "We'll show you the true meaning of devotion." Lily's eyes widened in terror, and in that horrifying instant, Sarah realized the surreal nightmare they were trapped in. Sarah wrenched away from his touch, adrenaline pumping as she darted towards her daughter. But as she reached them, the windows exploded in a furious blast of rain, and darkness seemed to swirl, pulling them deeper into Mr. Jenkins' twisted web. Desperation clawed at Sarah's throat. How would she escape this haunting madness? As the shadows closed in, merging in a taunting dance, she could only hope. But would she be forced to choose between her own life and the one she sought to save? What happens next could seal their fate forever. The moment she moved, a sense of dread pulled at Sarah's heart. Every dark corner seemed alive with hate. The whispers of the shadows grew louder, swirling around her, mocking her resolve. "Mommy!" Lily's cry pierced the air again, urgency radiating from the small girl like a beacon, yet it was tangled in a web of muffled despair. The air seemed to thicken, every breath tasting metallic, as if soaked with blood. Sarah's mind raced. Could she grab Lily and escape? Would Mr. Jenkins allow it? He stood there smiling, reveling in the chaos of the moment, eyes alight with madness. "Don't you feel it?" he said, his voice like ice slicing through the air. "The bonds of love? They keep us together, even when torn apart." He stepped closer to the table, corruption oozing from his smile. "Watch now, dear Sarah. You are about to learn the real meaning of sacrifice." One sudden movement shifted the atmosphere. The room trembled under a low rumble, almost like a warning, and just then, the lights flickered violently, revealing grotesque shapes lurking within the shadows. Sarah's pulse raced as she noted the pictures on the walls, faces of children twisted in agonizing joy, their smiles a manifest darkness that threatened to swallow her whole. Lily's whimpers broke through Sarah's petrified state. "Mommy, please." It ignited a fierce fire within her. It didn't matter how deep into madness she was drawn. Sarah darted toward the table, her arms outstretched, heart pounding loudly against her ribs. But just as she reached for her daughter, the shadows erupted, swirling around them like a terrifying cyclone. A voice echoed through the chaos, a cacophony of taunts and sinister laughter. "You think you have the power to save her?" Mr. Jenkins' voice dripped with malice. "Shut up. Sarah roared, lunging forward with desperate strength. She felt the force of air shift as she nearly grasped Lily's hand, but the shadows yanked her back, smothering her in cold darkness that squeezed at her throat. Trembling, she fought the oppressive grip. She could almost reach her daughter, just an inch more. Lily! Hold on. She could feel time slowing, each second stretching into eternity, hope teetering on the edge of despair. No! Mr. Jenkins's voice twisted from mocking to furious, resonance vibrating through the chaos as he took a threatening step forward. The shadows recoiled, and Sarah caught a glimpse of something in his hand, a glimmer of steel. A knife? Reality crashed in, making her breath hitch. Family must stick together, Sarah, he hissed, advancing. Or we cut the ties. With raw determination, Sarah dove for Lily, knowing the risk was absolute. I love you. She shouted, heart shattering into 1,000 shards of fear, and I'll always choose you. The shadows splintered around her, and as she reached for Lily, a blinding light erupted through the room, bathing them in a warm glow. It seemed to counter the deep chill, illuminating the darkness that had enveloped them. But shadows still writhed, seeking to reclaim their grasp. Lily! Sarah cried, gripping her daughter's small hands, a desperate hope igniting within her. They had their bond, they would fight against this twisted love. Just as the knife flashed in Mr. Jenkins' hand, the air felt electric, as if the universe itself held its breath. But would love be enough to conquer the horrors that lay in wait? Her heart raced as Mr. Jenkins lunged. Shadows closed in, a terrible promise of despair. The stakes were raised, and the knife glistened wickedly in the light. In a flash of instinct, she pulled Lily close, but what else did she hold? The light flickered, and just as it seemed victory was theirs, a chilling laugh echoed in the room, a sound that would haunt her forever. Time for the finale, my dear. A key piece of their fate still remained hidden. Would they uncover it before it was too late? The light flickered, a fragile shield against the darkness that still seeped into the corners of the room. Sarah held Lily tightly, praying that love was indeed a weapon strong enough to pierce the heart of this nightmare. But as Mr. Jenkins lunged, it felt like the air itself fractured, shifting sharply to allow darkness to pour back in. Don't let him take you. Sarah screamed, the words ripped from her throat as fear clawed at her insides. Just as Mr. Jenkins' knife descended, the shriek of a siren echoed through the house, an unsettling reminder of reality, or perhaps, a cruel joke from the shadows. It caught everyone by surprise, the sound clawing at the edges of their minds, battling the chaos. Sarah felt a tiny spark of hope flicker again, but it was swallowed by Mr. Jenkins' unnatural laughter. Do you hear that, Sarah? The outside world is calling. But this is your reality now. With lightning precision, he flicked his wrist, aiming the blade towards her. Shadows twisted around it like ravenous serpents, hungering for blood. Sarah's heart raced, she shifted, her instinct screaming at her to protect Lily at all costs. Lily, cover your eyes, she shouted, shielding her daughter's face with her own body. The girl whimpered, her breath hitching as terror flooded her small frame. Sarah squeezed her, feeling the warmth of her child grounding her amidst the icy fear. The shadows roared like a wild beast, and the room vibrated with an unholy energy. Sarah was getting weaker, struggling against the creeping despair that threatened to swallow her whole. Those twisted faces painted on the walls were grinning, their joy a stark reminder of their fate if she failed. In a daring move, Sarah lunged sideways. The knife whistled through the air, narrowly missing her. Time stood still, she could hear her heartbeat thundering in her ears. As Mr. Jenkins turned to pursue her, the shadows wavered for a moment, flickering as if in doubt. Is this what you wanted, Sarah? He taunted, stepping into the dim light, revealing a face twisted in glee. To protect her? How noble! She could see his madness clearly now, eyes glinting with a dark flame, reflected in the chaos of shifting shadows. But love is a chain, and you locked yourself in. A sudden gust of wind sliced through the room, moments before the door slammed open with a deafening bang. The blaring sirens grew louder, flashes of red and blue sliced through the gloom, crackling excitement against the oppressive weight of darkness. Mr. Jenkins' face contorted in rage. "No! They can't take this away from me." In that moment of distraction, Sarah seized her chance. Grabbing Lily's hand, she dashed toward the door, adrenaline fueling every desperate stride. The shadows lunged, seething like a vortex, dragging the air from her lungs, but she kept moving, fueled by the precious weight in her grasp. They spilled onto the porch into the cool night, gasping, and glancing back. The house loomed, ominous and dark, angry whispers still swirling inside, shadows flickering in the windows like trapped souls. A figure emerged from the doorway, a silhouette against the darkness. "Did you really think you could escape?" Mr. Jenkins bellowed, his voice reverberating like thunder. Chilled to the bone, Sarah tightened her grasp on Lily. With instinct born of pure survival, she fled into the night, cutting through the shadows that clung to the ground like a sinister fog. The sirens screamed, closing in, but the laughter still echoed, a haunting reminder that this wasn't over. As they sprinted away, hearts pounding, one question gnawed at her insides. What dark secrets had she truly awakened in her desperate fight for love? And would they follow her beyond the walls of this accursed place? They ran, the cold night air slicing through them, but the sirens weren't enough to chase away the darkness that clung like a second skin. The streets were eerily quiet, an unsettling contrast to the chaos that chased them. Yarn-thin shadows danced along the pavement, warping into grotesque shapes, whispering promises of doom behind them. "Mom, what's happening?" Lily's voice trembled, her small hand shaking in Sarah's grip. "It's okay, baby. We just need to keep moving," Sarah forced the words through a throat tight with fear. Every step felt heavy. She had crossed a line that she hadn't even known existed, and now there was no turning back. A pair of headlights pierced the darkness, the glow illuminating the road ahead. Relief washed over Sarah. She could feel the panicked thud of her heart gradually start to sink with the rapid clicking of her shoes against the pavement. The car screeched to a halt beside them, the driver leaned out, eyes wide. "Are you okay? Get in." Before she could respond, a shadow whipped past, faster than the flicker of the headlights. Sarah's breath caught as she turned, feeling the dank air swirl behind her. The figure of Mr. Jenkins materialized, his laughter echoing like a warped melody, spinning like a yarn spun too tight. "Did you think simple headlights could save you?" he mocked, mouth curling into a sinister grin that split his face like a wound. The light washed over him, revealing a darkness that hinted at something otherworldly felt in his eyes. The shadows that gathered around him thickened, a tainted fog swirling in anticipation. "Get in. Now!" The driver shouted again, panic evident in his voice. With one last glance at the encroaching darkness, Sarah shoved Lily toward the open door, urgency igniting her movements. As they half-tumbled inside, the driver slammed the door, signaling urgency with a frantic wave. They sped off, tires screeching against the asphalt. "Who was that?" the driver asked, his eyes flicking to the rearview mirror, searching for signs of the nightmare they had just escaped. Just a man. He tried to hurt us." Sarah managed, her voice thick like molasses, still choked with terror. She turned quickly to Lily, now seated safely in the back. "Are you all right, sweetheart?" Lily nodded, but her wide eyes betrayed her fear, shimmering with unshed tears. But as the car rushed forward, a deep sense of unease settled over Sarah. Something whispered in the back of her mind. "Keep driving," she demanded, desperation making her voice sharp. "We can't stop." The driver's expression darkened, reality dawning on him. "Where are we heading?" "I don't know the area." "Just away from him." "Don't stop." Panic set in again, a roaring tide. The headlights illuminated a street sign as they rounded a corner. It read Bethel's Hollow, the name echoing a warning she had heard whispered in her childhood, an occult legend soaked in local lore. Something pressed against her soul, something primal and ancient. As they raced through the hollow, shadows twisted along the trees, their shapes elongating in the headlights like a dark sea rising to swallow them. Then came an unearthly howl, vibrating through the car like a malevolent symphony. What was that? The driver shouted, eyes darting around, struggling to hold on to his grip of sanity. Just keep going, Sarah cried, heart racing. But it was too late. A figure leaped into the road, blocking their path. They skidded to a stop, tires screeching against gravel. Mr. Jenkins stood there, his smile widening, eyes reflecting madness. You think you've escaped? The weight of his presence crashed against them, suffocating in its intensity. The shadows thickened around him, billowing like smoke, threatening to engulf everything in a grotesque embrace. Get out! Sarah screamed, but the driver was frozen, staring ahead in disbelief. Why not come back home? Bethel's Hollow remembers you, Sarah. His voice dripped with wicked sweetness, as if promising something she didn't want to accept. Then, the world tilted dangerously. Mom! Lily's terrified shout sent adrenaline coursing through Sarah like fire. But as she turned, the shadows began to whisper in unison, their voices turning familiar yet twisted, pulling at memories long buried. A horrible realization struck Sarah like lightning. What if this place was not merely a refuge from Mr. Jenkins but a trap woven into the very fabric of her past? In that moment, the young mother faced a dreadful truth. It wasn't just Mr. Jenkins who was after them, the darkness of Bethel's Hollow craved them both. As despair closed in, Sarah took a breath, fighting back against the chaos. But was she strong enough to save them both from the truth lurking in the twisted lore of this place? Or would she finally succumb to the shadows that had haunted her all her life? The air inside the car grew suffocating, thick with panic as Mr. Jenkins' twisted figure loomed in the headlights. His laughter curled around them, snares of darkness tightening and whispering of horrors yet to unfold. Sarah gripped Lily's hand tighter, the little girl's skin cold against her own, a shiver of dread skimming down Sarah's spine. Please, just drive. She pleaded with the driver, urgency straining her voice. Don't look back. But the driver seemed frozen, transfixed by the sight of Mr. Jenkins. What do you mean, remember you? He stammered, confusion tinting his panic. Before Sarah could answer, the shadowed figure raised his hands, palms open, as if beckoning them closer. You know this place, Sarah. You've felt it. Each word dripped with a sinister gravitas, echoing in the night air, pulling at the threads of her past. A sudden roar ripped through the silence, jolting the driver from his stupor. Go, go, go. He slammed his foot on the gas pedal. The car lurched forward, tires spinning as they surged down the desolate road, the surrounding trees towering like silent sentinels waiting for the inevitable. But the deep woods swallowed the light behind them, and shadows rushed at the car, racing to catch them. Sarah twisted in her seat, her breath caught in her throat. A dark figure remained, pacing along the edge of the road, melding with the forest's gloom. Is he still there? Lily whimpered, clutching her mother's arm, her innocence suffocating under the weight of fear. I don't know, I can't look. Sarah replied, her heart thrumming like a trapped bird in her chest. Every instinct screamed at her to leap out of the window, to run, but where would they go? The driver's expression was one of raw terror, eyes darting from the rearview mirror to the stretch of road ahead as if praying for salvation that wouldn't come. Turn back. The hollow it's not just woods. It hides things. A guttural howl echoed, this one different a warning. It scraped against her mind, shattering the fragile edges of her sanity. Panic twisted her gut. She remembered the stories. The old wives' tales that dared to whisper of souls eternally bound to this cursed place of darkness feasting upon regret and fear. The hollow wants us, Sarah said slowly, her voice steadying with the weight of grim realization. It's not just him. It's everything here. It wants us to feel trapped. It can't have us. Lily shouted, her voice a tiny flicker of resilience against the encroaching despair. But as Sarah glanced back over her shoulder, dread pooled in her stomach. Mr. Jenkins wasn't alone anymore. Figures danced among the trees, their forms flickering briefly in the fading light, mouths twisted in eternal screams that echoed against the night. The shadows thickened and morphed into familiar faces, people from her past, lost and broken, some smiling, others looking at her with pity. They reached out, eager to pull her back into the darkness with them. "Don't you see?" Mr. Jenkins called, laughter lacing his words. "You can't escape. Bethel's Hollow remembers all that you've tried to forget." The words clawed at her mind as if digging for buried truths. What had she tried to bury? What terrible secret did they all know? "Don't listen to them, Mom," Lily cried, shaking Sarah back to reality. The driver suddenly swerved, the car careening off the road into a patch of trees, the impact sending shockwaves through their bodies. They rolled to a stop. "Run," Sarah urged, fear igniting flames of urgency. "We have to get out now." As they climbed out of the car, the chill of the night air was a stark contrast to the raw heat of terror coursing through them. The figures in the woods flickered into the darkness, whispers darting between them like bees. Sarah moved to grab Lily's arm, but a sudden growl pierced the silence, primal and furious. Something was coming, a mass of shadows and rage. She glanced at the driver. "We can't run away from the truth. We need to face it." But as she turned to drag Lily into the woods, the shadows crashed down, and everything fell into chaos. A burst of shadows erupted, engulfing them. Sarah could feel the old tales come rushing back, dark things lurking in the depths. And as the darkness closed in, she understood that they weren't the only ones trapped here. Some souls never truly left Bethel's Hollow. Would they join them? The hushed echoes of the past surged around them like chilling tides, pulling tighter, whispering of the dark reckoning ahead. And in that suffocating moment, a voice resonated from the depths of the blackness, promising a sinister reunion. "Welcome home, Sarah." Sarah's heart hammered as she shielded Lily with her body, the shadows swirling violently around them. The warmth of her daughter felt fragile, a flickering candle in a storm. The air buzzed thickly with dread, each whisper merging into a cacophony of icy laughter. "Stay close," she shouted over the sound of menacing growls that echoed through the trees, a warning from the horror lurking within Bethel's Hollow. Distant figures flickered in and out of view, their ghastly faces chiseled from despair. Sarah could almost recognize some of them. Friends, family? Were they dreaming twisted versions of a past long buried? No. She screamed, battling to breach the fog of fear that cloaked her mind. This can't be happening. But it was. Mr. Jenkins' laughter ricocheted in the darkness, tinged with madness. "You think you can escape the sins of your past? I know what you did, Sarah." The shadowy figures slithered closer. Sarah stumbled back, dragging Lily with her. She scanned the twisted landscape, looking for a way to flee, but every path turned darker, more suffocating. "Mom, I don't want to be here," Lily cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. The purity of her child's voice cut through the chaos, grounding Sarah amidst the swirl of doom. "Lily, I need you to listen carefully. We have to find a way out." She didn't even know where to start. Memories surged, half-formed and painful, the secrets that twisted her gut. She had thought distance could shield her from the horror, but Bethel's Hollow was dredging up things she wanted to forget. "Why don't you let her go?" A voice rasped from the shadows, low and dripping with venom. "Let her join us instead." A surge of anger flared within Sarah. "Get away from her." She pushed forward, a howl tearing through her throat. There was a sudden silence. The figures all froze for an instant, as if the very air had paused. Then they surged toward her, a wave of ghostly hunger, their mouths gaping. Sarah grabbed Lily tight. "Run!" she yelled, taking off into the blackness. Branches whipped at their legs, and roots sprawled like skeletal fingers across the ground. They sprinted deeper into the woods, breathless, heart racing. Somewhere behind them, a feral howl echoed, flesh tearing, fingers snapping at their heels. Fear surged through Sarah, coating her throat like grime. They weaved through the trees, desperate for any shadow that would shield them from the encroaching darkness. Then, just ahead, a flicker of light caught her eye. "This way," she gasped. She could barely see it but felt an undeniable pull. Hope ignited, scorching away the claustrophobic dread. Flashes of light revealed a clearing, but confidence quickly faltered as they reached the edge. There, standing under the gnarled branches, were more figures, lost souls staring back at her with hollow eyes, trapped in a loop of despair. "Join us," they whispered in unison. "Mom!" Lily cried, her grip tightening as she clung to Sarah. "I don't want to go there." "I want to let them," Sarah promised, breath jagged. She spun to face the oncoming shadows, her heart roaring in defiance. They were encroaching fast, laughing, the sinister energy pulsating around Sarah with a tangible weight. But somewhere in the corner of her mind lurked the memory of a hidden truth, the one she had buried deep. "What must I do?" she whispered to herself. Just then, Mr. Jenkins stepped forward, smug and expectant, shadows clinging to him like a shroud. "Face your demons, Sarah. Face what you did." "What did I do?" Tremors coursed through her voice as the air crackled with vile energy. His response came barely above a whisper, chilling her bones. "There's a reason they can't rest. You hold the key." Although the words cut through her like shards of glass, she couldn't understand. Clarity eluded her. The figures advanced, a swirling tempest, eager to drag her and Lily back into the abyss. In that instant of dire urgency, she gripped Lily tightly, a fierce clarity settling in her heart. She wouldn't let fear dictate their fates. But as she stepped forward, shadows collided, threatening to engulf them entirely. "Are you ready to find out?" The darkness hissed, echoing her unspoken fears. And suddenly, the hollow trees stirred, their bark shifting, revealing twisted faces, ancient and knowing. They would reveal the truth if only she dared to listen. Was she ready to confront the horrors of her past? The answer lingered in the air, heavy and thick, as everything began to swirl around her, spiraling downwards into chaos. The darkness stretched and pulled, and the collision of light and dark created a new rift, one that promised a confrontation beyond imagination. Would she step into it, or would she be swallowed whole? The blinding light enveloped Sarah and Lily, crackling with an energy that both terrified and compelled her. It pulsed like a heartbeat, and every fiber in her body screamed to flee. But there was no way back. They were cornered by darkness. The only choice remaining was to leap into uncertainty. "Hold on tight," Sarah shouted, her voice sharp with resolve, and with a single step, they tumbled through the rift. A whirlwind swallowed them, and when they landed, the ground felt different. Cold and gritty underfoot, filled with eerie echoes that vibrated in her bones. The clearing had morphed into a different realm, one cloaked in shadows and memories. Gone were the trees. Now, fragments of shattered mirrors hung in the air, reflecting twisted visions of the past. "Mom?" Lily's voice trembled, her small hand slipping from Sarah's grip as she wandered closer to a mirror displaying an image of Sarah from years ago, smiling, oblivious to the impending doom. "Lily, stay close." Sarah's heart dropped. These mirrors weren't just reflections, they were portals to moments frozen in time. She had glimpsed the darkness after all, and it was playing with them now. As she stepped forward, a flicker caught her eye. A mirror flared bright, revealing a scene where she stood in front of a faded house, laughter echoing from within. She saw herself, along with those she once loved. Faces of friends, faces that should be joyous, but were now marred with pain. The room turned gray as the laughter subsided, replaced by cries for help. "Mommy!" Lily's scream snapped her focus back. One of the mirrors shimmered, revealing a version of her daughter standing alone in a swirling fog, her tiny frame cloaked in shadow. Panic gripped Sarah as fear clawed at her insides. Without thinking, she lunged for Lily, but as she crossed the distance, a dark force suddenly swirled around her feet like smoke. "Let her go!" Sarah screamed, but Sarah felt the sinister grip tighten. It was as if the shadows were not just alive, they were hunting. They slithered closer, dragging their forms from the deep pools of darkness, twisting faces of despair mirroring her own misery. "Join us!" They howled, their mouths wide, spilling forth the horror of her past. Sarah felt it clawing at her, peeling back layers of guilt she had worked tirelessly to bury. "No!" She choked on her breath, forcing herself to breathe, to fight against their whispers, the tempting lies woven with her own regrets. "I want to be like you." But the dark figures closed in, swarming all around them. Their icy fingers grazed Sarah's skin, and she felt each touch like a jolt of regret surge through her. They hissed in unison, their voices filling the air with a deafening clarity. "You belong with us, Sarah. You've always belonged, Mom." Lily cried out again, her small frame trembling as she pulled back, fear written across her face. "I'm here, baby. I'm here." But Sarah could feel the shadows wavering, tugging at her reality. Dread coiled around her heart as she wrestled with the truth. Was it possible that the key to Lily's safety lay in confronting her own worst moments? As if sensing her resolve, the dark whispers intensified. "Face it!" They roared, and suddenly, one of the mirrors shattered, revealing a grotesque reflection of Mr. Jenkins, his eyes gleaming with malice, waiting for her response. "Time to make amends, Sarah. Or lose her forever." Her breath hitched, and realization throbbed. A choice pressed heavily upon her. Would she betray her guilt, face her demons, or allow her daughter to be consumed by the very horrors she tried to escape? The choice hung in the air, thick with dread. Just then, the world shifted, and strange laughter echoed around. "Make your move." The shadows taunted, their voices mixing with the dying echoes of the past. And as the darkness writhed like a living thing, Sarah felt something snap inside her. She took a step forward, the moment thick with tension. But would confronting her demons be enough to save them, or would the shadows run deeper than she dared to imagine? Light burst through the chaos, illuminating the confusion that clung to Sarah and Lily like fog. It felt surreal, as though the shadows around them recoiled, surprised by the brightness flooding in. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, determination coursing through her veins like fire. She stood tall, gripping Lily's hand fiercely, staring into the darkness that threatened her family. "Listen to me," she shouted, voice firm as steel. "You don't own us. We are not afraid." The shadows hissed in response, morphing into grotesque figures that whispered hauntingly, their words swirling around her with chilling familiarity. Memories of fear and heartache entwined with the very essence of Bethel's Hollow, echoing the lies she had lived with all these years. "Do you recognize us? The torment is yours alone." They clamored, clawing at her resolve, clutching at her vulnerabilities like hungry demons. Breath ragged, Sarah recalled the pain she had buried. The mistakes, the agonizing memories she wanted to shield herself from, blooms of guilt that twisted her heart. Each moment a reminder of failure hummed softly in the background. But gazing at her daughter, the flicker of hope ignited within. In that moment, she realized this was not merely a battle against shadows but a reckoning with her past. "Who I was doesn't define who I am," she declared, each word vibrating with a fierce clarity. "I choose to break these chains." With every ounce of courage, she pushed forward, dragging Lily alongside. She couldn't let the shadows win. The light intensified, shrieking against the encroaching darkness. The figures shrieked, their howls bursting into a frenzied cacophony. It woke something deep inside Sarah, a surge of power fed by love and survival. Suddenly, with a crack that echoed like thunder, the mirrors shattered one by one. The ghastly figures shivered, their forms splintering in response to the brilliance. Every shard that fell released whispers of confusion, fracturing the dark grip of the hollow that sought to consume them. "Find your truth." A voice called from the edges of the swirl, softer yet more resonant than the rest. "Don't look back." Lily yelled, the innocence of her plea cutting through Sarah's heart. They raced across the clearing, the light surrounding them pulsing with relentless energy as they navigated the chaotic battlefield of memories and shadows. "Mom! Over there!" Lily pointed toward a glimmering path, woven within the chaos, a shimmering thread leading out of this nightmare. It felt alive, inviting and warm, as though they were being pulled toward something no darkness could touch. "Hold on," Sarah said, running faster, twisting through remaining shadows. The echoes of regret faded into the background, replaced by affirmations of love that filled the air, wrapping around them with every step. But Mr. Jenkins emerged, furious and determined, eyes blazing like fire. "You can't escape the truth. You belong to this darkness." He lunged at them, but the shimmering path pulsed brighter, reinforcing their advance. The shadows grew frantic, swirling chaotically in response to Sarah's unwavering force. "Your power is an illusion," he roared, trying to grasp onto the fading shadows that wanted to consume them. But with every flicker of the light, every push of motherly strength, Sarah believed in their escape. And then a breakthrough. They leaped onto the path, the light swallowing them whole. Mr. Jenkins' howls echoed behind them, but they felt the weight of despair break away. In a blink, they were thrust into a warm, comfortable light. The air felt different, lighter, freer. Colors painted their surroundings vibrant, alive, beating softly with life. They stood in a wide-open field, with a brilliant blue sky above, flowers bursting with color all around them. "Are we safe?" Lily asked, voice trembling in awe. "I think we are, baby," Sarah breathed, tears brimming. She felt the heavy weight of fear lift from her shoulders, as warmth surged through her chest. They were free, a promise laid before them, like a blank canvas. Shadows still lurked in the recesses of her mind, but they were not the only story left to tell. As they wandered toward the horizon, Sarah turned back for one last glance. The darkness of Bethel's Hollow nestled far behind, a faded memory, stripped of its power by a truth long buried, one she had finally faced. "Mom?" Lily's voice nudged her from her thoughts. "What is it, sweetheart? I'm glad we didn't get lost forever." A lump formed in Sarah's throat, gratitude, love, and a fierce protective instinct swelling together in her heart. "So am I. We're stronger than we ever knew." Together, they moved into the light, not just as warriors of survival but as carriers of hope. It wasn't just the end, it was the beginning of a journey toward healing, creating memories of joy that would shine brighter than all shadows combined. And as they walked, hand in hand, Sarah couldn't help but smile. The warmth of an honest, uncomplicated love surrounded them, shining powerfully against a backdrop once filled with dread. They were free to embrace whatever awaited them next. Now, here's where you come in. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories packed with love, conflict, and resilience. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Flood that comments section with your reactions and theories about this intense ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means the world to us, and only true fans understand the importance of backing the channel through these actions.